This happened to me when I was just 13 years old. For a little background that led to this, I just switched to a new school that was further away from home. And now, instead of just taking one bus, I had to take a bus, a train, and then another bus to get there. Now with my longer commute, I had to leave my house at about 6:45 a.m. if I wanted to get there for first period at 8:30. For the most part, I was never worried about safety, since public transit was busy in the morning. As I got off the train, I had to cross a big bridge in order to reach the area with the different bus routes. There was 3 major ones, but it didn't matter which one I got on, because they all passed by the school, before breaking off into separate directions. So one morning, as I was waiting for one of the buses to show up, this random construction worker also was waiting for the bus. He started to talk to me. He looked like he was in his mid-30s. I didn't think much of it, as I was easy to have a conversation with. I started seeing him more frequently at the bus stop, and I began to find it a bit strange because he would always compliment me by saying, "You have a cool bag," or "a nice jacket." He never said anything to raise any red flags. Things started to get pretty weird quickly though, as he would start complimenting me on my features, saying that I had pretty eyes or a cute smile. I was beginning to get a bit uncomfortable, but again I brushed it off and chose to start avoiding him to the best of my abilities. I never thought too much of my own safety, as there was always people around, and I had a cell phone in case I had to call my parents or the police. I didn't see the guy for a few days, so I began to think I was in the clear and started to forget all about him. But that's when things really began to escalate. I was sitting by myself with my earbuds in when suddenly someone tapped my shoulder and sat down beside me. It was the guy, and now he's talking to me like we were old friends. I was really uncomfortable. I did my best to try to dismiss him and went to walk away to the other side of the bus area. But that's when he said something that really caught me off guard. He just casually turns to me like it's nothing and says, "What would you do if I tied you up and never let you go?" I was genuinely shocked. I got up from the bench and started to walk away, but he got up too and started to follow behind me. That's when 2 buses pulled in. He of course followed me onto the bus that I chose, but I wasn't having any of that, so I got right off and hopped onto the second bus. If he followed me onto that, I was going to tell the bus driver that I needed help, but thankfully it didn't come to that. I was so damn confused. I went to school and the first thing I did was tell my friends what happened. I really didn't understand the severity of the situation at first, because not only was I 13, but I'm a guy. I didn't think these things happened to guys. As I was telling the story, I was kind of downplaying it because nothing bad had actually happened in my eyes, and there was no real repercussions. Everyone gave me the same dumbfounded stare, as no one knew what to say. Then one of the teachers overheard me, which I'm not surprised about. I'm a loud kid, and I was in a look of shock. The teacher brought me to the principal's office. I missed the entirety of the first period that day, explaining what happened to the principal and the police officer. I informed my parents, who at first was really confused on why I didn't mention anything about the weird guy. After that, I was driven to school for the next few days. The police officer came to talk to me and my parents. He said that they found a guy on the transit cameras and were able to track him down and talk to him. There wasn't too much the officer could do aside from telling him to stay away from me, since the guy technically didn't do anything illegal. The officer did tell me that they would be monitoring the train station around that time as well, and if the guy ever approached or talked to me again, to call 911. So this happened to my mom maybe 3 or 4 years ago. My mom is no longer with us. She passed away, but she was maybe 40 at the time of this happening. She was a very pretty woman, looked young for her age. She even had instances of total strangers proposing to her, out of nowhere. Everyone seemed pretty much obsessed with her, and that being said, she was no stranger to dealing with creeps. So one day she was at Woodman's, which for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a grocery store chain here in the Midwest. It wasn't really in a bad area, but it was close enough to one of them. It was right off the freeway, so it could get kind of sketchy. She always told me that she didn't want me going there alone, especially at night. The times that I would accompany her to the grocery store at night, I was told not to leave her side, even though I was about 18 years old at the time. So anyway, this particular day that she was at this store during the afternoon doing her shop, she's alone. That's when she noticed a man in the same aisle as her. He's looking at her, and when she would turn to look at him, he would glance away and act as if he was looking at something on the shelves. Honestly, she didn't think much of it. As I mentioned, she's dealt with her fair share of creeps, so she grabbed what she needed from that aisle and moved on to another. But that's when she noticed him again. Same aisle, doing the exact same thing as her. This time it kind of rubbed her the wrong way, but she went about her business again and moved on from the man. He kept following her throughout the store. Now it's worth mentioning that my mom was not one to be messed with. She was a very confrontational woman, never backed away from a fight, had beaten the best out of men before, while also taking beatings from them. She even usually carried a weapon, things of that nature. So she's getting ready to check out this man to see if he's still following her. Now she's pretty pissed off and didn't feel safe, so she alerted the employee and the checker when to go to get the manager. That's when my mom took the opportunity to tell the guy right off, saying something like, "Can I help you? And what do you want?" Anyway, he replied back to her in a cold and calm manner, saying, "You look like the kind of girl who would really look good in someone's basement." At this point, she was not only mad, but absolutely terrified. I mean, who pulls out that line out of nowhere? Anyway, the manager came up, and while my mom was telling them about the guy and what he said, that's when the guy ran off and the police were called. They were able to find the guy hanging out near the parking lot, but all they could do was escort him off the property. That's all they really could do anyway. My mom was terrified that the guy was lurking somewhere, waiting to see her get into her car before proceeding to follow her. She ended up calling me in tears, saying she was afraid that she was going to be followed or abducted. She wanted someone to know, so she and I stayed on the phone till she arrived home, thankfully safely. It took a lot to shake or scare my mom, but she had a really good intuition. This man had to be as creepy as they come. His comment to her only proved that further. In the end, she was okay, but I can't imagine what would have happened if she didn't tell someone, or if that man did end up waiting for her and followed her home. We'll never know for sure. This happened around Christmas in 2019, when I was 26, and it still sticks with me to this day. I've thought about sharing this many times, but I was never sure if it was scary enough. I guess you decide. My then boyfriend, now husband, and I decided to meet for dinner at a Christmas market here in Switzerland. He would pick up our dog from doggy daycare, and I would get there after work. Some things that are good to know at that point. We have had our dog for about a year. His name is Bean. He's a medium-sized dog, and before he made his way to Switzerland, he was a street dog in Italy. He was about 2.5 years old at that time, and he loved and still loves to get all the attention he can get. Also, Christmas markets are incredibly busy. Here, especially after work, people will meet with their friends and family to eat dinner and drink mulled wine. When we got to this Christmas market, we realised that it was way too busy to walk through with a dog. I sent my boyfriend off to get my favourite street food, Malik, while I waited at the edge of the market with Bean. Now, Bean likes to greet everyone who looks at him, and by that point I'd gotten used to talking with strangers, because my dog wanted to meet them all. So I wasn't too concerned at first when the dude came up. I don't remember word for word what was said. I'm not even sure what language this happened. But I do remember Bean happily greeting this guy, trying to stand up against him and licking his hands. The guy asked for his name and what breed he was, so I told him that Bean is a pincher mix. That's when the situation started to turn. The man insisted that he must be a Basenji, and how could I say that he was a pincher? All of a sudden this man switched. There's no better word to explain it. He then grabbed Bean's leash and said, "I'll go now," and just tried to walk off with my dog. Thankfully, I had a firm grip on his leash. I was incredibly confused and flustered, and I just stammered that he wasn't going to take my dog. This man got increasingly more angry with every second that I didn't let go of the leash. I loudly told him to leave me alone, and Bean started to bark at the man like I'd never seen him do before. I never seen Bean this angry and scared at the same time. Thankfully the man did let go of his leash and slipped off into the crowd. I was left standing there dumbfounded. I was a mess, with a mess of a dog as well. Bean was barking and shaking, so I knelt down to settle him, hold him, and was talking to him. My boyfriend was still somewhere in the crowd, waiting for our food. After a short while, a woman walked up to me and told me not to put my heel on the floor, as she had seen someone put a firecracker there. I don't quite know the name of this firecracker. They're small and usually thrown at the floor to make a little boom sound upon impact. Someone had placed them under the heel of my shoe so that it would explode when I put my heel down to get up. Now I don't know what's worse. Was it the same guy that tried to steal Bean, or was it someone else who saw a distressed dog and thought, wow, let's scare this dog just a little bit more? I think the worst thing for me was that apart from the woman who warned me, no one else helped me when I was harassed by the weird guy, even though I loudly told him to go away, and there's plenty of other people standing very close to me just watching. Bean was actually the one who scared off the guy in the end. Thankfully the events of that evening had no long lasting impact on Bean or me. He still loves to greet strangers. I still remember the whole thing though. I don't think that it's something that I'll ever be able to get over. Thanks a million to everyone who likes, subscribes and comments on my videos. I really appreciate it. If you like more stories like this or clip videos, please subscribe. Thank you.